Free community college. Sounds great, right? That's part of Governor Hochul's plan to train the next generation of sought-after workers, people like nurses, engineers, teachers. But not everyone would be eligible for that free college education, like adults who want to go back to school and change their career path. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, February 19th. First up, corrections officers around the North Country have joined statewide prison strikes, which have impacted about 30 of the state's 42 prisons. Over the last few days, State Senator Mark Walczyk has met with officers at protests outside the prisons in Ogdensburg, Gouverneur, and Cape Vincent.
The main concern is safety. These guys are trying to return to their families at the end of their shift. And our prison system, because of the things that Governor Hochul and others have put into place, our prison systems have become very unsafe for the inmates and for the COs that work in there.
About 150 people protested today outside Clinton Correctional in Dannemora. Many of them were current or retired corrections officers. One main demand they're making is to repeal the HALT Act, which limits the use of solitary confinement in prisons. They're also calling for New York's prison commissioner, Daniel Martuscello, to be replaced. Gregory King retired from Clinton Correctional a few years ago and says Martuscello has lost the trust of his employees.
He's supposed to be the leader of this of corrections, and he's not taking steps in the right direction to make sure that his staff are safe.
Governor Kathy Hochul says striking is illegal. State government workers aren't allowed to go on strike. She said she's prepared to deploy the New York National Guard to help secure prisons impacted by the strikes. She released a video statement this morning.
These disruptive and unsanctioned work stoppages are jeopardizing the safety of their colleagues, the prison population, and causing undue fear for the residents in the surrounding communities. I will not allow this chaos to continue.
Hochul also said she's assigning state police to bolster security at the perimeter of the facilities. In the first month of President Donald Trump's second term, he signed hundreds of executive orders. Several of them aim to curb access to abortion and limit the rights of transgender people. That's a concern for people who use those services and for Planned Parenthood, which provides them. Amy Feiereisel reports.
Crystal Collette says for some people, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the air right now.
Our patients and our community here in the North Country is concerned.
Collette is the CEO of Planned Parenthood of the North Country, New York. Last year, it served about 8,000 patients in 7 locations across the region, providing services like prescribing birth control, testing for STIs, cancer screenings, and abortion services.
Our phones at our health centers are ringing with concerns from patients around understanding access to care.
She says that's because of a flurry of executive actions from President Donald Trump in the past month. Since taking office, the president has pardoned 24 people convicted of harassing and assaulting abortion clinic workers and patients. Trump reinstated the so-called Mexico City policy, which blocks federal funds from international aid groups that provide information about abortion. Collette says that the National Planned Parenthood has been preparing for Trump administration challenges to funding and access.
Nothing that we've seen in the last few weeks has surprised us. We stand firm. No matter what happens, we're going to keep our doors open and keep that care affordable for you.
New York State's top officials, including the governor and the attorney general, have also recommitted to protecting women's reproductive health care, including abortions. After a Louisiana grand jury recently indicted a New York doctor for prescribing abortion pills online, Governor Kathy Hochul signed a new bill into law to protect doctors' identities.
I must stand up and protect our doctors.
Trump's executive orders have also targeted transgender people. One forbids transgender youth from accessing gender-affirming care. Another declares there are only 2 sexes, male and female, and that a person's sex cannot be changed. Trump says he's taking, quote, historic action to defeat the toxic poison of gender ideology and reaffirm that God created 2 genders, end quote. Planned Parenthood of the North Country CEO Crystal Collette says none of the orders impact what Planned Parenthood provides, which is hormone therapy for transgender adults. But she says patients are still confused and scared.
So our patients who receive gender-affirming care with us are calling to see if that care is still available.
She said the local organization's biggest concern is that people will delay or not seek health care out of fear or misinformation. Colette says about half of Planned Parenthood's patients are low income and on Medicaid, and a third of patients report that Planned Parenthood is their only source of health care.
For a lot of our patients at Planned Parenthood, we are their only healthcare provider because really their only healthcare needs are their sexual and reproductive health.
She says all that care is still available and will continue to be. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
Governor Hochul wants to waive tuition and fees for adult learners enrolled in high-demand community college programs like nursing, manufacturing, and engineering. Hochul says if lawmakers greenlight the idea, New York will become a larger hub for tech companies and see fewer staff shortages in certain industries. Jung-Yoon Han from the New York Public News Network reports on the adult learners who would and would not benefit.
Yedi De La Rosa is everything her patient would want in a nurse. Gentle, patient, and thorough.
Let's just take a deep breath in through your mouth and out through your mouth, okay?
It's just that the patient is not actually real. It's a mannequin, and De La Rosa is a student. She's standing in a room that looks exactly like a hospital room, with the mannequin lying in a medical bed, hooked up to a heart monitor and oxygen tank. It's the first nursing clinic class of the semester at Hudson Valley Community College. De La Rosa's waiting for the day she becomes a licensed nurse, so she can swap out mannequins for real patients. It's been a long time coming for her.
When I made the decision to go into the nursing field, I had to really figure out, where my priorities are, how I'm going to be able to make it.
De La Rosa says she always loved the industry, but put off nursing school because she couldn't pay for school with all of her family's bills. But seeing medical workers deal with staff shortages during the height of the pandemic moved her so much, she knew she wanted to serve patients too. So she enrolled in the nursing program last fall.
I held on for dear life, and I'm like, well, if this is the path for me, I know I'm going to do it somehow.
And Governor Kathy Hochul has an idea for how to make that path a bit easier.
We will pick up the tab for you because that is an investment that will earn multiple times over.
That was Hochul at a news conference in January. She wants to cover books and tuition for adult learners getting associate's degrees in programs like nursing, teaching, engineering, tech, and manufacturing starting in the 2025 to 2026 school year. About 1 in 4 students across all programs in the state's community colleges are adult learners. If the proposal passes in this year's state budget, the effects would be widespread.
We're talking about thousands of students across the state.
That's John King. He's the chancellor of the State University of New York system.
This will be the ticket for adult learners who maybe have been struggling at their job, they're not making enough, they're trying to figure out what they want to do, they're really interested in technology. This could be the ticket for them to walk into a job that is well paid in the technology industry.
But not everyone will be on Hochul's tab, including Jen Crawford. The governor's plan is geared toward people without degrees, but Crawford has 2 in art. She's an artist and a former teacher, but says she's always been interested in STEM.
So I've always kind of had this back and forth with trying to decide between engineering and art and math.
Crawford says her job teaching art in a public school wasn't enough to cover her bills. So she left the field and enrolled in an optics program at Monroe Community College just outside of Rochester. She's been learning the art of designing lenses of all kinds, like the ones in NASA telescopes and cell phones. She made her first lens last semester.
It was so fun. It really actually reminded me of art school.
Optics is on Hochul's list of high-demand degrees that would be covered, but because Crawford has a bachelor's and master's already, she doesn't qualify for the program. Crawford says it would make sense to expand the program to people like her who have degrees that they feel just don't serve them anymore. But in the meantime, she's going to look for other scholarships.
Because my tuition's on my credit card.
In Albany, I'm Jung-Yoon Han for the New York Public News Network.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Jazzy music today from the Saranac Project of Saranac Lake and the Wickmore Jazz Trio of Plattsburgh. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.